Sagittarius, May is one of those months where things don't really get resolved. There's many things going on, there's many backwards and forwards. And I'm overall positive about the future, but it might not feel like it. That central card there, the King of Cups, King of Love, somebody that's in control of his emotions but understands those of others. And I think you're stepping out of the darkness and beginning to understand why things are the way they are, and that psychology more than anything provides us with those explanations. The darkness was fear of the unknown, which certainly characterised your past. You're also right now beginning to realise how so much in life is not what it seems, that we're presented with a series of choices which mask the fact that we're being led to do certain things. You know, we're being told, well, would you choose this or choose that, when really we should be saying, do we have to choose at all? Do we choose anything? Do we want any of this? You know, it's a form of magic, isn't it? This false choice, and you're seeing through it. Unfortunately, and I think you'll see through this as well, as deception coming in the future. And I think you're just tuning yourself. You're spotting these deceptions. You're spotting all these things that are going on. You are planning things. You are planning a course of action, something of a radical course of action. And I don't think that's a bad thing to be doing. For other signs have said, no, don't do that. That's the wrong thing to be doing. But I think it is the right thing to be doing in your case, Sagittarius. And that is because you are grasping the psychology of all that's going on. The wrong thing to do would be to jump too quickly to conclusions, to move too quickly, to feel that you already have the answers. Because I think what you're doing is you're sort of putting a foot forward and then reflecting and seeing, have I got this right? And then we have the Queen of Cups. Well, you know, King and Queen of Cups. So it is about love. It's about following your heart. She can get taken for a ride, which is why I think we have the further deception in the future. But I'm pretty certain you see through it. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, we have to be prepared to be deceived if we open our hearts. But if we open our hearts, then the bounty that is coming will come to us. Let's have a look at each of these individually, hey? You know, the overall theme is about you opening your heart, following your heart, but understanding your emotions, understanding those of others. You're beginning to tap into the psychology of all that's going on. And that's a wonderful thing to be doing, you know. You will spot when people are trying to deceive and manipulate you, but as long as you just take it in your stride, you're going to be fine. No, it's a wonderful thing, and it goes throughout the entire reading, and it is your gradual opening up, opening your heart and beginning to realise all that's going on in the world has this sort of deeply psychological reasoning behind it, and you being in tune with that reasoning. Now, I don't think you were always like this, you know, in terms of following your heart, in terms of understanding psychology, because you have been fearful of the unknown. And of course, the opposite of fear is love. So you are moving into a much better place. I'm not going to be critical of your fear of the unknown. We all are fearful of the unknown. Whatever New Age gurus may tell you on this platform, you know. I mean, it's not a thing that we ought to follow. It's not a thing that we ought to get too concerned about. But it is something that we all do. And this was the past. So I think it's a positive movement. The things that you're beginning to see through is this sort of a magic of choice, as it were, you know. And when I was a salesperson, when I trained as a salesperson, you know, we were taught to say, shall I put you down for 10 boxes or 20? You know, when maybe they didn't want any. But it's the beginning, the closing process, you know. Well, you might go straight to closing with that, you know. It's a trial close at the very least. But, you know, it gives you the feeling, or the buyer the feeling, that they're empowered, when it's the exact opposite. They're being controlled. They're being deceived. And so much of our life, we're confronted with these choices that are meant to make us feel empowered, when they're doing the exact opposite. We're just being led. And you're seeing through these now. You're absolutely seeing through them. Yeah. And even in the future, and I'm sure you see through it, there's another deception coming up. And, you know, we've all been through so many deceptions, haven't we? We've all absolutely had enough of it. And I'm sure you see through this. And this is sort of indicative of this awakening, for want of a better way of putting it, that's going on with you. That you're going to spot these things a mile off now. I think we all get frustrated that just because we can spot them, there's nothing we can do about them. I mean, well, you know, we can avoid them, but we cannot go for it. But, you know, we can't just stop them from happening. I've told this story many times, but it's worth saying. You know, I used to fly into what is now the old airport in Saigon, which was very close to the centre of the city, and I'd jump in a taxi, and I was quite used to doing it, you know, and they wouldn't use the meter, and they'd just say $10 to me, and I knew that the actual fare was in dong, the equivalent of $2. But they either didn't know English or pretended not to know English, and I used to get very angry because I couldn't get my point across that I'd been there many times. I knew it was equivalent to $2. Anyway, in the end, how I just resolved it was I paid them the correct money in dong. Never had any more problems, and it's this sort of realisation that you're getting to now. Oh, sorry, this is the future. Now, the opposite to being confronted with choices and saying, you know, do you want it green or blue? Do you want 10 or 20 boxes, you know, is for you to plan. You have to be flexible, not be rigid in your planning, you know. Certainly this isn't the time to have rigid ideas. But you can plan, and you're planning something quite radical, and it's more than simply planning. You're action planning, you're drawing up a course of action. But you're going to remain flexible. But the universe is saying this is the right thing to do, whereas being rigid, trying to control things, is exactly the wrong thing to be doing. So to have some view of where you're going, but also to know that it might not happen like that. Now, sort of flexible action planning is the right thing to be doing. The universe is giving you a very firm steer that the wrong thing to be doing is having very firm ideas. Moving too quickly in a one direction, to thinking that you know it when we're at a time of massive change, you know. You may feel like you've got balance, that you've grasped it all, and that you need to move quickly in a particular direction, but the universe is cautioning you very strongly against that. And we've got the King of Hearts in the future, but in getting to the King of Hearts, we go through the Queen of Hearts. So it is about filling your heart, filling your heart? Yeah, filling your heart full of love, filling your life full of love, being accepting of others, you know. Even those who are trying to deceive you, even those who are saying, do you want 10 or 12 boxes? Just being understanding, being loving, and yeah, people will try and take you, but you're going to emerge just spotting these things and laughing at them, and none of it's going to matter anymore. No, it's not going to matter. Better see if I've got any of this right, haven't I? So let's look at these choices. Have I got it right about these choices? What are the choices? Is it a sort of a magic that's going on? The first card we get is the Knight of Wands. Prone to rushing into things. Yes, it is, isn't it? You're being offered these choices. You're being rushed, you know. Oh, if you don't choose 10 or 20 boxes, you know, there won't be any boxes next week. And it's like, well, you know, put it behind you. Put it behind you. Just move on. Don't worry about it. You know, you don't need any bloody boxes, do you? No. Fill your heart full of love. Yeah, fill your heart full of love. Yeah, you know, you're a bit of a fool for... a bit of a fool for love. Is this all about love? It could be. You know, we've got love a few times here. You get taken for a ride a bit because you're a fool for love. Yes. Okay. Let us look at each of these individually now. I'm looking for clarification on this choices card, that not everything is what it seems. You know, you're being offered things and maybe it isn't a choice at all. Why does that happen? Well, it is because you have a tendency to rush into things. You have a tendency to jump to conclusions, and that is exploiting it. So I think we're being told, yeah, fill our hearts full of love, and, you know, if something is too good to be true, then it is. Another sort of principle of magic is to reward people at first so that they invest even more. You know, it's particularly with financial stuff, you know. They bet or they put even more money into it because they've already won some, and it seems like, you know, they can't lose, and so they put everything in and then they lose the lot, you know. And that's very typical. And why am I telling you this? Oh, moving on, yeah. Just because something you've done in the past has worked out well, doesn't mean that it will continue to do so. Everything is changing at the moment, and you need to understand that. So, I think it's a little warning to move on, not to keep doing the same thing. And the other reason why you fall for these things is you're very open. You wear your heart on your sleeve. People think you're an easy touch, you know. And if you ask others for advice, they'll tell you, well, you've got to harden up. You've got to get tougher. Do you know what the universe is telling you? Open your heart even further. If you open your heart even further, you'll get more sophisticated and you'll spot these frauds. You'll spot what's happening. You don't need to put up barriers because you'll just simply spot them. You might get a little bit annoyed like I used to in Saigon, but you know, you'll be able to spot them. You know, my wife is very beautiful, and you know, whenever we go out, some male tries to take her from me in some shape or form. So we went out on Friday night, and there were two males trying to do it. One was an elderly Irishman who was saying quite disgusting things to her every time I went to the toilet, and gave her his card. The other was a young Italian, you know, so who the hell did the Irishman think that he was trying to, you know, what was he trying to do when somebody a lot younger than my wife rather attractive was also interested in her. Not that she wanted either, you know, but these things happen to me all the time, and the way to deal with it is just to open your heart, just have a good time, don't worry about it. Trust your wife, because she's not interested, and I know she's not. And I also know that this poor Irishman's going to die a very lonely, very bitter, very unhappy death. And you're going to begin to understand these things as I do. It's not always nice to know these things, but you will understand them. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting, Sagittarius. May, you're developing your sort of heart to an incredible extent that you're going to be able to see through people. I mean, you've always worn your heart on your sleeve, and as a result, you've sort of been taken for a ride a bit. But actually, the universe is telling you that if you open your heart more, you'll see through things. In the past, you know, you've been fearful of the unknown, and we all are, but the more you open your heart, the better it's going to be. And you're going to spot that, you know, all these sort of choices and opportunities you're given aren't choices and opportunities at all. And unfortunately, you know, you're also going to realise that even when you've got these ability to spot things, people still try and take advantage of you. People still betray you, you know. And there's nothing you can do about it. You'll understand their motivation. You'll understand it's going on. But it still goes on, you know. And, yeah, it's life. It's something of a gift, to be honest. And as I say, you get there by opening your heart even further. The other thing the universe is saying to you at the moment is that you ought to be planning for things, action planning, but be very flexible. Maybe planning something quite radical, but being flexible. And the thing that you shouldn't be doing is considering that you already know it all, that you've already got all the answers, and therefore there is one course of action, and you need to move there quickly, because the universe is going to throw some more tricks at us during this year, and you need to be flexible. I don't mean to say don't have plans, but you need to be flexible.